So I feel like I'm on Shark Tank or something right now. But anyway, we are the Phelps High School ECLRP team. And first off, I want to introduce our members: Ivy Lane, Allison Prater, Zachary Boggs, and Emily Wolford. And before we get too far into this thing, I want to dedicate this presentation to some people, some local historians that really helped us to find a lot of the information we did. Which are local historians Daryl Fannin, Pete Wolford, and Debbie Stiltner, which provided tons upon tons of resources, primary source documents to our team to be able to put together this information for you. And they provided pictures upon pictures. But our service is a Tug Fork guide service. It's going to be a guide service along the Tug Fork River, the same river crossed by the Hatfields and McCoys in the 1800s, and the same river crossed by many, like thousands of people in today on the Hatfield McCoy Trail System. It's crossed every day by these people that are looking for adventure, and we want to give them a place to relax and have a good fishing trip or just a float down the river just while we do all the work. They can sit back and they can relax and have their fun time and while we do the work for them. But our site starts at the Majestic Collieries, and I'm going to hand it off to Ivy here to tell you a little bit of backstory on the Tug River.
I was chose for this certain part because I have a personal connection to how it all started. My fifth great grandfather, Andrew Jackson Mounts, signed his rights over in 1914 for the start of the Majestic Collieries. He finally got enough money and bragged about how he was finally able to get the shotgun that he wanted from a catalog. And he went on to get all of his 8 adult surviving children their own farm in Louisa. The coal mined from the Majestic Collieries camp is low sulfur, high quality metallurgical, sorry, I get tongue tied, coal. So as you can see there's the tipple. And it's weird to look at it now and kind of funny because in this time, coal was glorified. And as you can tell, it says there that it was known as America's tipple. It was in ale commercials for West Virginia and everything. So that's another picture. It was so big that they had to reroute the Hoe Creek because there wasn't enough room for it.
In order to grow, they had to reroute the river around them.
The community is still, you can tell that there used to be a coal camp there because the houses are coal houses. They're all alike, and they all look the same there. It's made many impacts, but the biggest that we can tell you, and it's made a change for all of us, is they gave us electricity in all of the Phelps community. And we wouldn't be where we are without that push. Who knows if Phelps would even be a community without that. Immigration's also a big one. We took a trip to the cemetery. There's so many different last names from Russia. It's unreal. You can't really tell from the picture, but those are brothers that died on the same day in a roof accident. Again, with the last names, some of these last names we still have in our school today. So if they wouldn't have came over for that job opportunity, they wouldn't be here now. That's what we call the bridge of opportunity.
That was the NW put that bridge through to connect to be able to build over to the other side.
We got all kinds of things over that bridge that we wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for that. And that's really helped everything. That's the reason we're here. Cedar Ballpark. This is my favorite. But they built us a ballpark. The Cedar Field, the Cofield Leagues, it's a minor league. And it was beautiful. We had, the funny thing about this is African Americans were allowed to play baseball. They were allowed to compete with their co-workers in their time off, but they weren't allowed to be buried in the same cemetery. It's also another story. They let them bury them in my third great grandfather's apple orchard. So that's where all of them are buried. But no matter where you were from, if you were white, you were buried in that cemetery. But everybody was involved and included in the ballpark and the leagues.
At one point, they were told, we got a story from somebody that his grandfather, or maybe his father, worked in this coal mine, and he told how when they were underground, they were equal. But when they came out, that's when the separation started happening. And it's really odd to look back on, but I'm really glad that this was an equal opportunity kind of coal field, and this was something new for that era. Totally. Baseball.
Life in the camp. So there was as you can see, the store. They had 2 doctors, fresh produce, meat, all that. They had company script. They were paid, and they used that script in the store, and all their services were right there. So they were feeding money through and through. So that was their own economy.
But now and a look at the environmental review. But first, I want to just ask something from our elevator pitch, which was, do you like to fish? Even if you answer no to that, we still have an adventure for you. Because this idea of the Tug Fork River, we come around, and tourism is just so big right now, especially after COVID. And who doesn't like to just float on the water? I mean, you're going to have business. We still have an adventure and a float for you. But with the environmental review, we decided less on the actual base and headquarters of the project, but more on the actual focal point of the project, which is the river itself. And we want to make sure, like Pete Runyon is the president of the Friends of the Tug service. It's a service to reserve and clean the Tug River. And it makes sure that there were thousands and thousands of tires pulled out since 2018. The thing is, tires from 1940s and 1950s pulled out of this river, and we pledged to help. We plan to help serve in the next round, which is the next cleanup is in August, and we want to help in that to make sure this river stays this good. And we also want to stress the idea of catch and release, because if without catch and release, there are less fish, and this helps preserve a population of fish and gives a much better chance to give people a trophy-sized fish, or an opportunity for a trophy-sized fish. And the Tug is absolutely loaded with smallmouth bass, which helps tremendously with our business goal, which is to put people on the fish. Then we're going to put them on the run to come back to us to come fish. But the model itself is the base headquarters is going to be the actual school that was on the Majestic Colliers Camp, which is on the edge of the Colliers Camp and only a mile away from the actual river. And if you will look here, we have, hold it there, we will have, go back for a second. We'll have a 6-room lodging area in the actual headquarters itself. And on the outside, it doesn't look the best. But on the inside, all it really needs is cosmetics. All it really needs is furniture. But then we'll have a store system for a second source of income. But the main focal point is the actual trails along the river. And if you look at our model right now, it's a hybrid model showing the Tug River and the QR codes right there, which actually, if Emily is going to pass those out right now, if you will scan any of these QR codes, it'll take you to a YouTube video of that area along the Tug. It's input and output areas with loading docks, basically, where we plan for loading docks to be along the Tug River. And if I recommend that you watch one of the drone footages, because it's just a nice view of the Tug and some of the beauty of our area, and some of the best beauty in our area from this Tug River. And a lot of people don't even know about it, or a lot of people, don't go to it. But I feel like this will drive more area there, more economy, more interest in that location. But we can see that the 3 different trips are going to be the main focal point of our source of revenue. But the other ones are going to be there for off-season. But now for dividing up the task, we're going to have Allie and Ivy working on the main store and lodging operations, and then myself and Zachary are going to be responsible for getting customers to and from the river safely, and we'll have the life jackets with us and all that stuff. And then Emily is going to be in charge of all of our guide service aspect, or all the aspects of the actual guide service, and she is going to be Miss Emily is going to help us tremendously and be the head of our marketing strategies with covering all the social media, all of the logos, and pasting a logo everywhere. Actually, if you were here and judged last year, the Phelps team did a fire or ambulance service for the Phelps, or not last year, but whenever it was. They did a ambulance service for Phelps High School or Phelps area, and we plan to put the logo on the actual trucks, the ambulances. And we have unofficial members are going to be certified guides, Tayton and Austin. But now the building that we chose is only 1 mile, like I said this earlier, the 1 mile from the river, and the outside, it looks like a school. It looks like an old school, but on the inside, really all it needs is renovations. You can go on. And on the outside, we plan big. We have a fenced-in lot already there for side-by-side parking. I don't know if you've ever been to Phelps, but we have tons of side-by-sides. Coming for this Hatfield and McCoy Trail. So there's already want and need for this adventure system. And we have washing station and a porch on the outside and all that.
Okay, as you can see on the chart here, I'm going to make it short and sweet. This chart shows for the next 10 years the rise in popularity of our service.
It's going to skyrocket.
Yes. We have actually talked to some of the trail riders, and they had told us that they love it here, that they would wish there was more things to do. So implementing this guide service would be a big plus for them, and hopefully they'll tell their friends and will attract more people here. You may be wondering why we have an El Azul Grande sign up there. Well, to keep it short again, when he was asking for a loan, they actually made fun of him and made bets on how fast he'll go bankrupt. And now you can't even walk 10 feet, and there's a Mexican restaurant here, Mexican restaurant there. That's because of the first El Azul Grande, and we open competition with open arms.
Okay, so for our financial strategy, we calculated or did an estimate of what we think would cost, and previously the person that bought it first paid $75,000 for the building, $10,000 for renovations. We calculated all this and stuff for buying kayaks and all that stuff, and then we went and met with Mrs. Ashley Wolford, or Alicia Wolford, over at the Community Trust Bank and got a settle estimate for a loan that is, switch, you can go on, and 4.25% interest and a $120,000 loan for 2.5% or 4.25% interest. And then, but our main thing is we talked to somebody that's already been there, done that, and they said they were a 65-year-old male, and one person paid $5,000 in just themselves for guide service for bait alone. So we plan to catch our own bait, and it's easy. It's not that hard. All you really need is a net, and it's fun. So we plan to save a lot of money that way, and any money we save is going to go to a principal payment on the loan. But the rates you can see here, some people charge like $400 down in Pigeon Forest and stuff like that. We just simply can't do that. The economy is not good for that here. It's not going to happen. But now the potential customers are just anyone looking for an adventure, really. Anyone local looking for an adventure. There's tons of people looking for an adventure around here. But there's even plenty of people elsewhere, like yonder states like California. Like people come here for the Hatfield-McCoy Trail system with their ATVs, and even if they don't have fishing equipment, that's going to be provided so that we can get them on the fish, put people on the fish. But the targeting customers, as I said, are just basically the riders and the people looking for adventure, and they're going to be pointed to our YouTube channel and all the different social media platforms to be able to see what we offer. And our strategy, we plan to be profitable. We don't know how profitable, but we just really know that we can be profitable. We know that we can succeed with this idea, and that we plan to keep a well-stocked store, and that we plan to have a rainy day fund for in case of emergency. And is it worth the risk? Absolutely, it's worth the risk, because as I've explained, we have 3 sources of incomes, 2 during the off season that'll work. Like the one miners hotel or miners hideout thing said that they stay stocked in lodging all year round. So we have plenty of resources of income and all that stuff. And why will we succeed? Because we have a recipe for success based off experience of other experts and based off the want of the economy and the surrounding regions. And now this is the big thing. The big thing that's going to help us grow. We can even, if we wanted to expand, we can have fishing trips just for this fish right here. This is a muskie. They get much bigger than this. It's about 40 plus inches fish. And, yep, there you go. And it's a 40 plus inch fish, but they get bigger than this. The biggest one was like 47 pounds, 54 inches or something, but this is the growth. Okay. But either way, thank you all for listening, and we really thank you all for your time, and we just we'll see you on the water.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We'll see you on the water.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
In reading your business plans, it appeared that you all really had a great history lesson as part of the project, and also kind of a recognition of some of the environmental impacts. What do you see as additional benefits to participating in this program other than just developing a business? What did you gain personally out of the experience?
Well, it can help our community more than anything, because if we are going to put this in a spot where they've got to go one way or another for a store, and it's quite a bit ways. So if we put it there, it's better for them. So if we break it up, it's bad weather. Our area's some of the worst for it, because the way our roads are, it's not great. If they're able to come there quicker and use what they have, it's just going to make it better for everyone.
Now, to answer what you said about learning stuff, personally, I learned a lot about like just history and culture, and like going on that graveyard, which I might add, that was a trip and a trek and a half. Like we about lost a member or two. Coach about tripped 3 times, but it's okay. We survived. We made it out. But now, that was like just an eye opener to like some of the heritage, and like, you know, I didn't know I had an interest in that, and now I do. You know, like it teaches you a lot doing this whole experience. As to what you were saying,
It was also, during our cemetery trip, it was also very creepy to know that some of the relatives, some of their ancestors, some of their descendants still go to the school this day, still live around the area. So just to think that their ancestors were here and they just didn't come here all of a sudden.
It was lonely too, because
Yeah.
they came without their family. They came to make families, but they left what they had behind. After they were buried, they had no one to visit them. They had no one to go hang out with. What they had was their work family.
Yeah.
That's all they had. So it was good to know where we came from and how. Like, I did not know that's
Yeah.
why we have electricity. That shocked me the most. Like, it's crazy.
All right, great job, you all. My question is, do you foresee any opportunities to integrate education or educational opportunities or field trips into this service? And would you speak a little bit on what some of those opportunities might be?
Well, yeah, I feel like for educational opportunities, you can, especially like certifying people, and, you know, even just opening their eyes to the world of fishing even. Like, you know, I was real young when I fished, and I don't, like, she's the best fisherman of the group. I'll give her that. But now I don't fish much, but I do enjoy it sometimes with my dad and stuff. And when I was little, I always, you know, fished, and, you know, educational opportunities, and even fishing or field trips. You mentioned field trips, coming there and just having a look at water, and even science can be tied into that with the erosion of rocks and the different things along the water level and the pH level of the water. Different things can be done with this float trip down the water. Simple river, you can have so many different things to be taught with it.
Well, with the education, we finally got back our JROTC group, like our club at the school. And Sarge is planning on taking them to a campsite and teaching them life skills, how to build a fire, how to make tents, all this. That would be good for them to know, because they go over the way the water is, roots and stuff like that. That would help them very much. And even if you're not interested in stuff like that, that's good to know, because it's survival.
Life skills.
And to further answer your question on what we could learn educational-wise, To circle back on what we said, that this area was also around the area of the Hatfield-McCoy feud. As we're going down the river, we could explain the history on what started it, who won, how it ended, and just to further elaborate on how
Well,
some
we
of the
have
history-
like Devil Anse Hatfield.
Mhm.
With all of that, it's primarily where we are. You could go that way or this way, and you get a huge history lesson.
Yeah.
And everybody knows, like, we have 3 historians on there, but there's so
Yeah,
many
there's
in
so many.
our community.
But now, I would just like to say, as far as the trail, the Hatfield McCoy trails and stuff, I would even in the future maybe a growth plan would be even offering trail systems like maybe not exactly the Hatfield McCoy trail system, but adding on to that and even explaining along the ride, if you were to lead people along the ride, that hey, just like a mile that way, Devil Anse or anybody, the pig was stolen and all this stuff. You can explain that stuff to them on the ride.
That's a great job, and the reason why I asked is because these opportunities are obviously additional revenue streams.
Yes.
Right, for your business.
Yes, they are.
So it sounds like you guys have a lot of opportunity there.
I have a question about value added. It isn't clear to me that it's strictly catch and release, or would people be able to keep the fish?
Well, occasionally, I feel like maybe be able to keep the fish, but really the catch and release is to kind of keep the environment up and keep their population good enough so other people can come and fish and enjoy the fishing too. I feel like mainly though is going to be catch and release.
Some of it is trophy, so
Some of it is trophy.
there are
If you get like a
laws.
trophy-sized fish.
If you get a trophy-sized fish and it meets the requirements, some people might want to take it, but some people might just like the feeling of taking
Fishing.
a picture with it and putting it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fishing.
Well, and then I guess in terms of value added, your partners, is there a place for a hotel or a B&B where people could stay?
That's-
And also where they might take a trophy fish if they want it mounted, or even cook it, or have somebody clean it. It seems like there are many dimensions of this business that you could
Yeah.
have partners, or you could do yourself. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this, there's a lot of space next to where our headquarters is. There's a lot of space. That's just open space not being used. You could even have a grill out there and, with the partners, like you said, maybe even people that come and work for us or cook or whatever, cook the fish, or even taxidermists that come and mount the fish or whatever for them. And the B&B thing, with the lodging upstairs or whatever, is going to be the 6 rooms lodging upstairs. But even if you really wanted to, you could grow and expand to another building near that because there's enough space for it.
Okay, had to get the mic on. You talked about the cost of your service, what you're going to charge, and what it's going to take to, as a capital investment. What about projections for a income by year, and when would you reach your break even? Because you can't really make any decisions on it unless you have some projected income with expenses. And I was wondering if you did any of that.
Well, we tried to kind of calculate how much we expected to make. There's not really much way of knowing for sure because of just the idea of the different amounts per the cost per the different per person per ride or whatever. There's not really able to tell how many rides we're going to get in a year or anything like that. But a minimum would probably be maybe 30 rides in a year would be, or 30 rides in a 2 or 3 month period would be good enough, sufficient enough to keep
And like
us
she said, with the opportunity, we have opportunity to get more out of different services. So that might bring it up. So we're not sure what services we will, like all the services we will offer, what new services will come from this. So we aren't really sure.
Okay, but if, in order to make an investment, you would have to do some projections and say, hey, we need a minimum of this many of this, many of this, for a break-even point, even if you don't have a return on investment.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, I would say that we would need to do that investment or that projection, but it'd be just a little different, a little more finicky. But I feel like we could make a projection.
Well,
for that,
we've already got plans for a new John boat and a backup John boat, the kayaks and stuff.
Well, we can rent, we can have the kayaks and all that stuff, and rent out the kayaks and there's just a bunch of different ways that they could buy the float or rent the float on the river and all that.
And to further elaborate on how much income, as I was saying, it varies from person to person, how many people they have, what they rent out, and how long they stay, like either 6 hours, 8 hours, a full day. It all depends on what kind of circumstances that they choose.
Now, as well, I just wanted to mention again that we would be saving a lot of money just by catching our own bait. And actually, we have a chart on the presentation or on the model that labels the expense, the costs for the actual bait. And, there's the helgimite, as we call it, but, as people around here call it, but now it's called a helgramite. But that's like the best bait there is and stuff like that. That's going to be some of the best, a really big money maker for us, different types of bait. But I'm going to take this time and just point out that we would also have to have the waiver, of course, because I don't know if that question's running through your mind. But we do have the waiver, a liability service, so that nobody's getting on a boat without that.
Yeah, no one will set foot near the water without signing this.
Yeah. And actually, the dude from Tennessee, out of the James Bradley, the man that spent the $5,000 on the bait, he told us his actually insurance company that he used or whatever that he went through, and we was planning to use that as well for insurance.
To follow up on what you were asking, Bob, it may be helpful if you speak with the gentleman in Tennessee to discuss his baseline and what his revenue looks like. And obviously, you'll have to adjust the ratio based on the differing economy, but that will help you get the numbers that you'll need to get that investment.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we're not going to get any more. Just move it down here so the judges can.
Chase, I'll hold this.
But, whatever. No.
Oh, table, I'm
The
sorry.
table too. Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. That felt funny.
Yeah.
Chase, James,
And there is a different scoring rubric for the model, and there is an award for that. And the purpose of the model is to show the impact of their business on their site or the area connected to their site.
I would like to explain a little bit about the river. There are 3 sections. These 2 are the most rough, where people would like to anchor down and settle in little pools to fish. And this area is more for like relaxing, like floating, sort of resting, just a nice peaceful day out. We have each one labeled Knox Creek, Cedar Bridge, Pound a Mill.
That's an exit point.
Yeah, exit.
But yeah, that's the bass are generally found in the pools or slower areas of the water, or in the fast waters next to the rocks and the pools that he's talking about.
I don't know.
I'm sorry to cut you off here like this, but the blue lights, we did that intentionally because it is a blue water trail, is what it's called in the state of West Virginia, meaning it's adopted by the community and upkept by the community to try to preserve it and try to keep it clean and all that stuff by the community itself.
As I was saying, I don't know if you can see this, but this is to represent that our building is approximately 1 mile from the river. This is supposed to represent our building
Station.
And these QR codes are the same ones that you have on your sheet.
And are there existing inputs at each of those?
Yeah, well, I know there is right here, and there's entrance ramps along those areas to where you can get down to the river safely and get out of them.
Are you aware of any other organization or entity that's
Not on the river, no.
No.
That's why we welcome the competition.
Yeah.
Not in our area. Now, as well, I don't know, there with licensing, you know how on one side is Kentucky side and one side is Virginia side. See, actually, the president, Pete Runyon of Friends of the Tug, got that lined out. So now either side will be honor the other license. It's called a reciprocal license, and it will honor either one. So that's taken care of with that too. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it means if you just basically get in the water on West Virginia side, they will accept it that you are from Kentucky and will
Yeah.
allow you to fish there and vice versa.
Because it really, as you can see here, there's Kentucky, there's West Virginia.
Yes.
It's the border.
It
It is the border.
Mingo County.
Starts in McDowell County, I think, and ends. Well, no, I don't know that.
Is that an aerial photo of the area that you have?
Yeah, it's basically an aerial representation of the river. But there is on that paper there is a drone shot of the actual Cedar Bridge is an area.
The two alone QR codes.
Yeah, the two giant ones. The second one is the best one or wherever, I think. It's just like a slightly above the river, like just a view going down through like just a small little section
It really
of some of the
don't show
beauty.
the true beauty.
It doesn't show the true
No.
beauty, but it shows some of it, just an ounce of it.
You know, you mentioned float trips. How long does it take to make a float trip, like from one dock to
Well-
where you drop it?
Well, the float
Some of them are 6 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, different ones. Now the slow area is probably going to be more of a.
Up there.
We tried to make them about as equal as we could because the curves and stuff like that, they may not look equal as far as like spacing, but the curves do add a lot of time to it and stuff like that. And I think it's the slowest one is going to be the slower waters, and it's going to be probably about a 6 hour or 8 hour trip. It's probably not going to end up in the 4 months.
It really depends on.
It really depends on the speed of the water at the time during the season.
Yeah.
And for the season that this is mainly going to be open, is probably going to be around maybe March to November, based on the sir from Tennessee that we talked to. And he said that's when basically he opens his and stuff. He still gets stuff in November. He still gets trails or riders in November. And even especially if you had a December like we just had this last winter, he's wearing shorts in December. I mean, you could probably get some rides even then.
Speaking of trail riders, we have learned that trail riders really like the snow.
Yeah, so it doesn't scare them.
If they can come around this area, they could
Even lodge.
possibly, yes,
The
lodge.
lodging.
A lot of them aren't used to our area. We have a lot of mountains, and they've never seen that. They're so shocked. I've had family come in and be like, I love this place. It's so different.
Yeah.
So for them to see it in different, seasons, it's crazy to them how it looks completely different. Whether it's snow or if the leaves are just now falling, they think it's amazing, and it is. Sometimes we take that for granted.
Our coach keeps on telling us that we take this area for granted, and we
Yeah.
really do. We don't see it like outsiders do. Like, we wake up and like, oh, there's a mountain. To people, that could just be a landmark,
Yeah.
a major accomplishment for them to see it.
Have you all looked at like historic flow data to see like how often the river's going too wild?
Well, I know that August is why they do that in August is that's when it's low at its lowest, and I would say based on that it's probably about March or something when it gets to its highest or whatever, and of course unless a flood, but then you get higher. But now other than that, we've looked at that, and the river slopes down in some areas to be about it's like a 3 foot decline over like a mile or something, 3 foot per mile decline as the base of the river.
Have you all caught this variety of fish?
Well, the smallmouth bass, I haven't personally fished on the tug, but no, it's loaded. It's loaded with giant smallmouth bass. I can't show that up. That one up there was 22 inches. Last year they caught 23, and a 23 is a trophy no matter where you go. It is a trophy for the smallmouth bass,
Emily, have you caught?
the smaller one.
Not yet.
Upside down again, I see, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, the photos that we've got, they're all from
Yeah.
the tug fort. The second photo on the
Yes.
bottom is a janitor from our school, and the second over on the right, the little girl on the very right. She's a student at Phelps Elementary.
Now that boy up top, I'm like, come on, like if I caught that fish, that boy in the blue up top, I'd be smiling too. I mean, you look at the joy that this can bring
anyone would.
people, and like you wonder, like it's just such a small thing, but it can bring so much joy to people, And actually, I would just like to thank the historians again, because we're going to do something with them with the service model, site model, whatever, and we're going to put them together, a book or whatever. About 90% of whatever you see relating to the Majestic Colliers is from them. It's primary source documents from those people.
There's the real photo.
That's a real photo, like a primary source photo.
Yes.
And we have receipts from the company store. We have medical records of workers in the mines because of these people. It's incredible what you can learn through this thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.